Good morning, friends. This is Reshma. Welcomes you to the next session in database management system. In today's session, I'm going to discuss with you one of my favorite topic in DBMS, which is mapping of entity relationship diagram to relational diagram. So that is here I will discuss with you how to map ER to relational diagram. So here there are we'll make use of a 7-step algorithm to convert basic ER model constructs. So it begins with first mapping of regular entity types, that is mapping of strong entity types. Next, we need to map weak entity types. Then we need to map the relationship types. In the first stage, 1:1 relationship will be mapped. Next, 1:n relationship to be mapped. Then mapping of M is to N relationships. So next we need to map multi-valued attributes. Then finally mapping of N-ary relationship types. So now by following these 7 mappings, we can convert ER to relational diagram. So now assume, so here we have considered a company database ER diagram. So now we'll convert this to relational schema. So now our first step is mapping of regular entity types. So now in this ER diagram, so first we need to search for regular entity types here, that is strong entity types which contains primary key. Regular or strong entity type is the entity type which contains one of the attribute as a primary key. So now here we have employee, department and project. There are 3 strong or regular entity types. So now we need to see how to map these entity types. Now for each regular or strong entity type in the ER schema, we need to create a relation R that includes all simple attributes of E. For example, if I take employee, we need to take all simple attributes of employee entity and we need to create a new relation with the name employee and include all those simple attributes. And if we have composite attribute, then we need to include only simple attributes of that composite attribute. For example, if we have a name which is a composite attribute, what are the simple components of name? F name, middle initial, last name. So we need to include F name, middle initial and last name, not the directly the composite attribute name. So then next is we need to choose one of the key attributes as a primary key. And if we have a composite primary key, we need to consider together 2 or more attributes which are behaving as composite primary key. So now we'll take one by one. Let's start with employee table. So now which are the simple attributes of employee table here? SSN, birth date, F name, middle initial, L name, address, salary, sex. So these are the simple attributes. So first SSN, birth date, address, sex, salary we have given. Now name is composite attribute. I can't include directly. So I have to take it simple component, that is F name, middle initial, last name. So now all simple attributes are included. Now I need to mark the primary key. So here primary key is SSN. So this is the mapping of strong entity type employee. So next we have department table. Department is the strong entity type. So we need to include the simple attributes. Which are the simple attributes in the department table? Name and number. So here location is multivalued attribute. We should not include. So include only name and number. So department name and department number. So from among these two, D number is the primary key. So we need to underline. The next strong entity type is project. So in project, which are the simple attributes? Name, number and location. Project name, project number and project location are the simple attributes. Among these three, which is the primary key? Here project number is primary key, so we need to underline. So now this is the first step where we have mapped strong entity types. So what we have done here, for the strong entity type, we have created a relation and included all simple attributes and underlined the primary key. The next step is mapping of weak entity types. How to map weak entity type? So for each weak entity type in the ER schema, we need to create a relation R, and in the relation we need to include all simple attributes of the weak entity type. Then after adding all simple attributes of weak entity type, we need to take primary key of owner entity type and add that primary key as foreign key in the weak entity type. Then weak entity type will include a combination of primary key of owner and partial key of weak entity type. So it includes a composite key, or it includes a combination of partial key of weak entity type and primary key of strong entity type. So for example here dependent is weak entity type. So now this includes all simple attributes of dependent. So that is name, sex, birth date and relationship. So these four simple attributes are included. So now it also contains primary key of owner entity type. What is primary owner entity type here? Employee is the owner of dependent. So primary key of employee is SSN. So we need to include that SSN in this relation. SSN is included as employee SSN. So now here that SSN will be treated as foreign key. And then the ESSN and partial key of dependent. Here partial key of dependent, which is underlined in the ER diagram with dashed line, that is partial key. So the combination of partial key of dependent, that is dependent name, and ESSN of employee table together form a composite key here. So we need to underline these two. So like this we have to map weak entity type. The next third step is mapping of binary 1:1 relationship type. So now what we have to do here, whenever we have 1:1 relationship type between two entity types, we need to treat one of the entity type as relation S and another entity type as relation T. So now which should be considered as relation S and which should be considered as relation T. So now here, for this can be done using three different approaches. One is foreign key approach, merge relationship, and cross-referential or relationship relation approach. So now here we'll follow foreign key approach. So what we'll do here, one of the relation should be given as another as T, and the foreign key in the relation S will be primary key of T. Then which relation is S, which is T? The entity type which is having total participation should be considered as S. Then another relationship will be, another entity type will be T. So here the from the entity type which is towards total participation, that should include foreign key from the opposite relation's primary key. See for example here, which are the 1:1 relationship here? Here I have manages is 1:1 relationship. Now in this manages relationship, here I have taken one of the relation as R, another relation as yes. So then foreign key of department we have to take that from primary key of employee. That is, go to the entity type which is towards partial key, take its primary key, and we have to make that primary key as foreign key in the total participation entity type. So here we have department towards total participation, employee towards partial participation. So take primary key of employee, it will become foreign key for department. So here we have employee relation and department relation with simple attribution primary keys. So now we have to take primary key of employee because it is towards partial participation. Primary key of employee is SSN. So now that will become foreign key for department because department is towards total participation. So that employee's primary key is SSN. It will become now MGR SSN. So MGR SSN is foreign key in department table. So now, is there any other relation which has 1:1 cardinality ratio? No. So this is how we need to map 1:1 relationship. So primary key at partial participation will behave as foreign key at total participation. So next is, so we can make use of merge relation approach or cross-referential approach also. But here we have discussed foreign key reference. Then next mapping is mapping of 1:n relationship type. So again here, between 1:n relationship type, we need to take one of the relationship as R and another relationship as S. This can also be done using foreign key approach or cross-reference approach. Let's discuss the foreign key approach here. So we need to find two relationship, S towards N side and another relationship be towards one side. That is, in 1:n relationship, we need to find two entity types. One entity will be towards one side, another entity will be towards N side. So then we need to take primary key at one side will be behaving as foreign key at N side. Okay, we need to take primary key from the entity type which is towards 1 and make the primary key as foreign key in the entity type which is towards N. For example, here if I take 1:n relationship, that is works for. So now works for is between, here we have works for and then controls and supervisor. If I take works for, so here participating entity types are employee and department. So now toward one side I have department, so need to take primary key from one side, that is primary key of department. It will become foreign key towards N side, which is towards N side employee. So primary key of department will become foreign key for employee, which is primary key in department number. So the department number will become now foreign key for employee. Got this point? Primary key towards one side will be foreign key towards N side. So primary key towards one side here, that is in department table, is department number, that will become foreign key in N side entity type, that is in employee. So D num of department will become foreign key for employee. So now D number of department has become primary key, foreign key for employee. Now next we have controls. Controls is between department and project, and supervision is between employee and employee. So now what we'll do here, between employee and employee, that is here 1:n relationship between employee to employee, that is self-referencing or recurrence relation here. So now one side is from employee, N side is also from employee. So what is primary key of one side employee? SSN. So that SSN will become foreign key for again employee. So that is supervisor SSN. SSN of employee will be foreign key for employee, that is super SSN. So now SSN of employee becomes foreign key for employee. SSN of employee is for SSN, super SSN for employee. That is primary key of n, one side becomes foreign key for n side. Here both one side and n side is employee only. So then next I have controls between project and department and project. So I need project table. In project table I have P number, P name and location. Which entity is towards one side? Department. So I need to take primary key of department. Then which is towards n side? Project. So primary key of department behaves will become now foreign key for project. So primary key of department is D number. D number will become now foreign key for project. So D num becomes foreign key for project. So now do you have any other 1:n relationship? Okay, so now so these are the three 1:n relationship between two strong entity types. So then next step, mapping by with the help of M:n relationship. So now how to map M:n relationship? So whenever we are having M:n relationship, now here this is a special case. So in this case, the relationship itself becomes a new relation. We need to create a new table for the M:n relationship. Then what are the attributes we need to add? Attributes should be primary key of the participating entity types and the attribute of the particular relationship. So that is combination of participating primary keys will become here the composite keys and they are the foreign keys. Now for example here in our table we have works on. So works on is M:n relationship. So we need to create a table for works on. So works on table will be created. Then what are the attributes for the works on? Primary key of employee, that is participating entity types. Participating entity types are employee and project. So we need to take primary key of employee, then primary key of project. Primary key of employee is ESSN. Primary key of project is P number. So we have to include ESSN and P number. Along with these two attributes, we need to include attribute of the relationship works on. What is the attribute for relationship works on? Hours. So I need to include hours also. So now the combination of ESSN and P numbers, it will form a composite key here. So this is how we have to map M:n relationship. Then the next step is mapping of multi-valued attribute. How to map multi-valued attribute? Again here for multi-valued attribute we need to create a new relation, and in that relation we need to include the attributes like name of the multi-valued attributes will be one of the attribute. Then primary key of the participating entity type where the multi-valued attribute is one of the attribute will be the another attribute here. See for example, so now so in this table we have locations in the department table. So locations is multi-valued attribute. So department locations becomes one of the new table. So new table is department locations for the multi-valued attribute location. Now what are the attributes for the department location? The name of the multi-valued attribute location. So location itself is one of the attribute. Another attribute is primary key of the participating entity type. So participating entity type is department. Primary key of department, that is D number. So D number is another attribute. So two attributes we are having, D number and also department location. So now what is the primary key and foreign key? Primary key is combination of these two and foreign key is D number. So this is the mapping of multi-valued attribute. In the final step we have mapping of N-ary relationship. So means if the number of participating entity types are more than 2, so then that is referred to as N-ary. So now here in N-ary relationship type mapping, the relationship itself will be converted to a new relation, new table. So for example, so here I have supply as a ternary relationship. So we need to form a new table for supply. Then primary key of participating entity types like primary key of supplier, primary key of part, and primary key of project. So combination of these three primary keys will form a composite key, and supplier ID, that is supplier name, part number, and project name, they will use as the foreign keys. So you can see here, this is for supplier, project, and part. Now the relationship supply is converted as written as a relationship for the new table. Primary key of all the participating entity types has formed a composite key, and then attribute of the N-ary relationship will also be added. So this is how we have mapped ER diagram to relational diagram using the 7 steps. So now all of you understood how to map ER to relation. So this is very interesting and very simple concept, and this is very essential. So now with the help of this after mapping ER to relational schema, then the relation schema can be used for the design or implementation of the relational database. So here I have given some notations, the notation components of ER diagram after mapping this to relational model. So what they indicate, entity type becomes entity relation. All 1:1 or 1:n relationship type, they will form relationship relation with the foreign key. M:n relation will become a new relation. N-ary will also become a new relation. So in N-ary we'll have n foreign keys. In M:n we'll be having 2 foreign keys. All simple attributes will become the attributes here. From the composite attribute, we need to take simple attributes and that we need to add. Again, multivalued attribute, it will behave as a new relation, new table, and it will take the foreign key from that particular table, from that particular entity type. So all value sets will become the domain, and key attributes will become primary keys in the relational model. So this is about mapping of ER to relational schema. So if you understood, so okay, if you have any doubts in the mapping, please post your suggestions or comments or questions in the comment box. And in next session, I'm going to discuss with you about the different operations which we can perform on the relational schema which we have designed now. To get the notification on my next sessions, so please click on the subscribers. Please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell button to get the continuous notifications. Thank you. Have a nice day.